Chairman, the meeting is now live.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Welcome to this virtual meeting of the East Sub-Area Planning Committee. Before consideration of today's business, I need to outline the protocols for the meeting. Today's meeting is being live streamed to the public via Microsoft Teams and is also being recorded. When members are speaking, they may choose to use their videos. If the Council's live stream fails during the meeting and we cannot share the proceedings, I will adjourn the meeting so that access can be restored. If the issue cannot be resolved, I will halt the meeting and the remaining business will be concluded at a future date. If a member experiences a technical issue, I will adjourn the meeting for a short period to try to re-establish their connection. As I call members to speak, I will remind you to switch on your microphone. If for some reason you cannot be heard, the Democratic officer will advise you. Members must be present for the duration of the discussion of each planning application in order to be able to vote. We have public speakers at the meeting today, and they will be joining the meeting by telephone. Where a member has declared a non-registrable interest, a disclosable pecuniary interest, or an interest by virtue of any trade union membership in a matter, they must leave the virtual meeting. Their departure will be confirmed and they will be invited to rejoin the meeting at the appropriate time. To confirm the procedures for today's meeting is the members of the committee who wish to speak on an item should indicate by using the raise your hand function, which is being monitored by the Vice Chairman, Councillor Parsons. Any members not on the committee or unable to raise their hands during the function, please indicate you wish to speak by typing X in the chat box. That's the end of the announcements, but before we start today's business, I will ask the Democratic Services Officer, Rowena, to ask the committee members to confirm they are present and state their electoral division. Across to you, Rowena.
Thank you, Chairman. I will now call your name. Please confirm your name and your electoral division. Councillor Burden.
Yes, present, and Stoke Crimson division.
Councillor Craker.
Present, Liskeard North.
Councillor Eddy.
Good morning, Councillor Eddy here, St Clear division.
Councillor Flashman.
Jim Flashman, Kelly Bray, St Dominic and St Million division.
Councillor Greenslade.
Good morning, Councillor Fred Greenslade, St Dennis and Nampian division.
Councillor Holly.
Good morning, Derek Holly, Saltash East division.
Councillor Jordan.
Yes, good morning, Tintagel division.
Councillor Long.
Good morning, Callington division.
Councillor May.
Good morning, Councillor May, Penryn West.
Councillor Mould.
Good morning, Carol Mould, St Minver and St Endelian division.
Councillor Pascoe.
Good morning, Councillor Pascoe, Liskeard West and Dog Walls. I'm sorry about the
Pugh. Councillor Pugh.
Good morning, Richard Pugh, Trelawney division.
Councillor Tamlin.
Good morning, Sam Tamlin, Saltash West.
Councillor Parsons.
Good morning, Councillor Adrian Parsons and Vice Chairman for today.
And Councillor Batters.
Good morning, Chris Batters, the Nivet Blisland division, and your chairman for the day.
We also have 3 additional members in attendance. We have Councillor Buscombe. Can you please confirm your name and division?
Yes, Councillor Buscombe, representing Padstow and St Mirren division.
Thank you. Councillor Lennox Boyd.
Good morning, I'm Councillor Lennox Boyd for Saltash.
And Councillor Rushworth.
Councillor Rushworth for representing St Izzy and St Julie division.
I can also confirm that the following officers are present. We have Gavin Smith, Development Management Group Leader, Amy Williams, Senior Development Officer, Sam Fuller, Development Officer, Hayley Jules, Head of Development Management, Louise Wood, Director for Planning and Sustainable Development, Vanessa Ormerod, Lawyer, Ben Kerno, Senior Lawyer, and myself, Rowena Brebner, Democratic Officer. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Rowena. We'll start now with the agenda. Can I have apologies, please?
There are no apologies, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 2 is declaration of interest. Does anyone have any interest they wish to declare, please?
Councillor Bathurst, Councillor Rushworth. Yeah, I'm very, obviously as a sub very interested in the process, and I just wanted to watch the proceedings. I won't be making any comments, but I will leave the meeting for the second application because the applicant is a relation to my wife, very close relation to my wife, and a fellow director of the company that I'm in.
Thank you very much. Any other declarations of interest, please? No? Right. Can we have minutes of the previous meeting? Could we have a proposer and seconder on that being an accurate record, please?
Jim Flashman.
Sorry, can you use your hand signs, please, rather than speak straight in? You should be muted until such time as you are about to speak. Right. I have Barry Jordan. You wishing to propose it, Barry?
Yes.
Right. Thank you. And a seconder, please. Martin Eddy. Martin?
Happy to second, Chairman.
Thank you. Can we have a show of hands then, please, on this one? Those who acknowledge as a true record, please show accordingly on show of hands.
Thank you, Chairman. That we have 12 votes. Councillor Flashman, did you want to vote for that one?
Yes, approval.
Okay, in that case, Chairman, that is carried. The minutes are approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you all lower your hands, please. Thank you. We now move on to the first application, which is PA 20/01087. It's land west of 29 Grenville Road, Padstow, Cornwall, and it's being presented by Sam Fuller. So across to you, Sam.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Hello, can you all see that?
Yes, that's visible. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Lovely. Yes, so yeah, agenda item 4.1, which is land west of 29 Grenville Road, Padstow. The proposal is for a new house in that location. So the key issues for this one is the principle of a new dwelling in this location and the design of the proposal and whether it maintains the existing amenities of neighbouring properties. So this map should show the location of the proposal. You can see by the black outline to the north and to the south that is the area of outstanding natural beauty. And there's a country wildlife site as well, which is outside that. So yeah, this is just another map showing the proposal site. So there's a grade 2 listed building, the old vicarage, but that's quite far away. I think it's about 250 metres away, so not in that setting. And this is an aerial image of the proposal site. You can see 29 Grenville and the settlement to the right, and then fields to the left, and then the site in the middle. So this is a photo of the current, well, the previous application, but it's in this proposed form of the proposal. So that's the front elevation. You can see 29 Grenville Road to the right, and then the fields will be to the left. So sorry, the right is the east, and the left is the west, and we're looking from the south. So this is a photo that was submitted by a neighbour, which would be 29 Grenville Road. It shows the relationship at the moment. So you can see 29 Grenville Road. The house there is partially built. That's in the location of the proposed application. So this is the location that it will be in if approved under this proposal. This is another photo sent in by a neighbour, which we've tried to use to kind of see all aspects of the application. again, that's 29 Grenville Road, and then the proposal. See the side elevation, the roof lights. There's 2 windows there, a chimney, and yeah, that is in the location of the proposed application. Again, a photo from a neighbour. This kind of shows the relationship between windows. So there should be a window you can see there, which will be for the bathroom on the first floor, and there's another window which would serve the stairway, which is just out of view. And this is another photo as well, which just shows the neighbouring garden and the kind of the surrounding context. This is taken on the site. So with the elevations, this is the kind of all the elevations that you can see. Changes there. You can see there's a new proposed dormer as opposed to the approved one, and it's been moved back and slightly sorted in height as well. That just kind of shows all the windows and the kind of form of the building proposed. This is the garage, which is kind of to the southwest of the dwelling. Kind of just shows the kind of the form of the dwelling, of the garage, and its elevations. And this is just a section plan showing the kind of the form and the elevation of the proposed dwelling. So this is a proposed site plan or block plan, which shows the proposed location of the dwelling, which seems to be highlighted in blue, and the garage just there to the kind of southwest of the dwelling proposed. The road line has been slightly revised in revised plans, just to straighten it off at the north. Again, so this one shows the proposed location of the dwelling and the approved location of the dwelling under PA 18 12050. So on the left is the proposed plan, and the red line shows the approved location, and on the right shows the approved location under PA 18 12050. So it just shows the difference in kind of the locations of those dwellings. And then this one shows again the kind of the elevations, the key elevation being the east elevation. So the top one shows the approved location under PA 18 12050, and the proposed location is detailed with the approved in the black outline. So that shows the difference as to kind of the shifting of the proposed dwelling to the north by about 1.8 metres, slightly lower than the approved as well. And then the windows have been changed slightly as well, regarding mainly the bathroom window on the first floor, which is now 1.6 above floor level, obscured, and opens at 12 degrees. Yes. So yeah, the balance of considerations. So in our view, the principle of the dwelling is considered running off in line with policy 3 of the local plan, and the principle of a dwelling, slightly different location but same red line, was approved under PA 18 12050. The design is viewed as being acceptable, and will not incur any material neighbouring harm above that achieved under the extant permission of PA 18 12050. And the access and garage is, and the design of it as well is deemed appropriate. So we are recommending approval conditions. Additional condition is required relating to surface water drainage. That wasn't on the report submitted, but that will be added to any approval achieved. Yeah, and that is it.
Thank you very much, Sam.
Do you wish me to stop sharing?
If you can for the moment, please, yes.
Yes, brilliant.
Thank you very much. We now move to our speakers. Our first speaker is Nikki Morris. Are you with us, Nikki?
I am, yes. Good morning.
Hi, good morning to you. You have 3 minutes to make your objections to the committee members, 30 seconds before the end of which we will give you a warning that you're into your last 30 seconds. So when you're ready, away you go. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today. I have tried to demonstrate the serious impact on my family and our property by including the photos and diagrams in my pre-meeting email, which I hope you all received. I would like to draw attention to 2 main points in the pre-meeting notes, 27.27 and 31 to 35. I do have a few unanswered questions. Why and how the plans being assessed today seem to have been used from the start, whilst clearly not agreed by planning. Why a new application was not submitted as soon as the developer wanted to make changes, which was back in January. And crucially, the South Coast Waterline does not exist, and therefore no justifiable need, I can see, to change the location of the build. Why there was no visit to our garden to assess the impact to us, and why the incorrect positioning of the build was not picked up by building control. Surely the location of the build is paramount to their responsibilities, and I cannot stress enough how this is not built to plan and in breach in planning from the start. I do appreciate, though, that planning decisions are not based on process, but I do feel it does need to be taken into account, certainly when assessing any remedial work. In my eyes, it is unacceptable to continue to build without planning permission and when matters are in dispute. I urge you to assess this application as if there are simply footings there in the interest of what is fair and reasonable. My photos show the detriment to us and the severe impact on our privacy and light by this overbearing build. You will see that our lounge now gets absolutely no sunlight at all, and the dining room and garden have severely reduced sunlight hours, making the house very much darker, colder, and destroying the enjoyment of a large area of our garden. Their bathroom window, although slightly altered, still intrudes on our privacy, looking right into our bedroom. I urge you to consider how little privacy frosted glass gives when it's dark outside and lights inside. We can see right through to their bedroom from our bed, and I do not doubt the same will be the case in reverse. Is it fair and reasonable that we should forever have to keep our curtains drawn? This window also opens, albeit 12 degrees, but this again is unacceptable as we would be forced to keep our windows closed to protect our privacy. The proximity of the chimney is also a concern, as there's real potential for smoke to be blown straight into our bedroom rather than up over the roof, which would most likely have been the case on the correct plans. As an asthma sufferer, this is even more worrying. I would like to reiterate that we very carefully considered the plans for this development with our solicitor before purchasing our house, and we're very comfortable that the light and privacy would not be compromised. We find ourselves in a very different situation now.
30 seconds remaining.
Whilst I appreciate any remedial work will come at a cost to the developer or whoever is at fault for the way this process has been handled, it is certainly not our fault. And why we should be penalised for this is beyond me. I've asked myself what cost to put on privacy and light, and I feel I'm able to do this as a basic right as a homeowner. This is why planning rules came into existence in the first place, and why Cornwall has a very detailed local plan. Policy 12 specifically, in this case, seemingly has been ignored.
3 minutes, Chairman.
I hope this makes sense.
Nikki,
I'm welcome any questions.
I'm going to have to end you there, Nikki, if I may, but please don't go.
Yeah.
Can you please wait a moment? Yeah, in case there are any questions.
Thank
if you can hold on the line, please. Are there any members wishing to ask questions for clarification purposes? The first one I see up is Neil Burton, but I'll pass over to you to tell me, Adrian, if you can. Thank you. Neil.
Yeah. Good morning. When did you realise that the original approved plan was not being followed? How long ago?
We noticed, well, just before we put the report into building control in March.
Well, this
year, yeah. So in March, what was March the 16th, I think it was, 2020, we realised it was not in the correct position. Obviously, we didn't really notice it until it started to be built up. But we put a report into building control as soon as we noticed.
Fine. Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, all right. As long as we know. Yeah, that's great. So you moved into the house recently, your house?
Yes, in July of last year. So we obviously considered the plans and quite happy, and then
that's great. Thanks for that.
Thank you. Can you put your hand? Can you mute yourself, please, Neil? I've got Councillor Mould next. Councillor Parsons, is that correct?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, we have Councillor Mould followed by Councillor Holly.
Thank you. Councillor Mould, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to confirm with this lady that in actual fact, the original plans, she was aware of them and she was happy with them and happy that all the issues that she has now weren't there then.
Yes, absolutely correct. Just to give you an example, the bathroom window, had it been in the correct position, we wouldn't even see it from our bedroom unless we hang out the window. So we've considered it really carefully and quite comfortable with what was going to be there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. If you could turn your microphone off, please, Carol. And Councillor Holly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is this: of the issues that you've raised, Madam, which do you consider is the most important to you, if you can put it like that? Is it the fact that it's 2 metres longer, or is it the overlooking issues from the windows?
I think it's one and the same, to be fair, because the 2 metre relocation has caused all the other issues. If the 2 metres, if it hadn't been 2 metres further down the plot, there wouldn't be any issue.
Okay, thank you.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or clarification, Vice Chair, please?
No, that's it, Chair, but if I could possibly ask one myself, if that's okay through you. Thank you, Chair. Hello, Nikki. Hello. Just for my own clarification, so can you confirm, so you live in number 29 and you purchased that property knowing at the time the initial plan and permission was in place, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
There are no other speakers, I take it now. Councillor Parsons?
No, thank you, Chair. No other speakers. Thank you.
Nikki, can I thank you for speaking today? And if you can now turn your phone off, and you're welcome to watch it, obviously, via the stream. Okay, but thank you for your attendance.
No problem. Thank you for everybody for looking at it for me. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I take it, Rowena, there's no parish council or supporter or agent added.
Confirmed, Chairman. Nobody else is registered to speak.
Thank you. In that case, we go to Councillor Buscombe, the divisional member for that area. You have 5 minutes, Richard, but I should be looking for you to wind up at 5 minutes, please. Away you go. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Good morning, members. There's very little I can add to the written and verbal presentations given by Mrs. Morris. She has researched this application very diligently. But there's one thing, however, I would like to ask you as a committee to pursue during your questions of clarification section is to delve more deeply into the relationship between the approval of the first application, the submission of plans to building control, and indeed why plans were submitted, which plans were submitted to building control, and really the role of building control in this application. My belief is that more clarity during this period would have prevented this application coming before us today. To support my contention, I did ask the case officer, and I don't know if he's done this or not, I did ask the case officer towards the end of last week if he could provide a timeline for you all where you can actually see the approval of the first application and which plans were submitted, because as Mrs. Morris sort of says, it seems that the revised plans were given to building control as if they've been approved, and those were the ones that they worked from, and that's why they raised no objections initially to the building that's now taking place. So I will ask you as a committee to look at that. So I do believe that's fundamental to what's happened here. I think there has been some confusion between various departments, because the building control people seem to have thought that the revised applications, the revised plans were the ones that were approved in the first place, but they weren't. So that's all I really have to say. So I think Mrs. Morris represented herself very well. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you, Richard. I would point out that those points you've raised with regards to the case officer, you are free to ask him those questions in a moment if you wish. Okay,
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. We now come to questions of the planning officer. For clarification purposes, I have Andrew Long up first.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chairman. It's a question of the officer regarding when the original application was put in. There did seem to be a query about the overlooking issue and the loss of light. Now, I know that loss of a view is not a planning consideration, but loss of a light is. But there seemed to be nothing raised at the time about the loss of light then, but it seems to be now that there's an extra 2 meters gone onto it, which is further reducing the amount of natural daylight from midday onwards that is going to come into that garden on number 29. Could you explain why that didn't appear in any sort of discussions regarding this application?
So do you mean, sorry if I'm speaking out of turn, do you mean in terms of the first application?
Well, I mean in terms of both really, and the fact that the first application quite clearly shows it extends into the garden, into the original where the application is, and whilst the windows are set so that physical overlooking is at the minimum, the loss of light, which is a planning consideration, doesn't seem to have come into the equation at all.
Yeah, so I believe we kind of have assessed the loss of light there. I mean, I guess in terms of our assessment, we're looking at the extent permission of the approval, and then the kind of the change that's proposed by this application. I think the main changes there are the 1.8 metre kind of setback into the block towards the north. There's a slight reduction in the height, but in terms of kind of loss of light, we have assessed policy 12. We've kind of looked at the overshadowing aspects of it, and whether there would be any severe overshadowing of the neighbouring property. I mean, we've deemed that to be acceptable, with the extent permission kind of having weight in that process. So again, I guess in effect, we are assessing the difference there really, and we kind of view that as there might be some additional harm, but we didn't believe that's significant enough for any refusal. That's why we're going for a recommending approval on this one. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. You happy with that, Andrew? Councillor Long?
Yes, thank you very much.
Fine. If you can mute yourself, please. Are there any other questions of the case officer? Councillor Parsons, followed by Councillor Burden.
Thank you, Chair. No, I'm okay. Just Councillor Burden to come in, please.
Councillor Burden, would you like to come in, please?
Yeah. Could I ask the planning officer, surely if the revised plans were submitted, they should have had an official stamp. Has he looked into that? And how did they prevent the planning office and just goes to the building regs? I mean, I think it's appalling to think that new plans can be submitted and they don't go to the right officer. And I just wonder if he's investigated that and if that's fact. Thank you.
So by revised plans, do you mean the kind of the ones that are proposed now?
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, yeah, we've assessed the plans that have been submitted. As part of that assessment, you look at the kind of planning history of the site. We've looked at these approved plans. We looked at the proposed plans. We've kind of made the distinctions between them. I mean, that weight given to that approval, kind of it being extent, it's materially started, albeit slightly in a different location. That does hold weight in our assessment. So we have, in this proposal, we have looked at those changes and see what the impact is. And we have tried to kind of make amendments. We've secured that the bathroom window, which does look towards the east. So that's obscured. It's about 1.65 metres above the finished floor level in terms of where the glazing starts. We did try to ask for concessions, as in towards the north, whether that could be reduced. Those agreements couldn't be made, so we kind of had to make an assessment on that. I mean, we deem that to be acceptable in terms of our considerations.
Yeah, but you were doing it all in retrospect. I mean, the foundations are in. you couldn't move the whole property back to its original plan. That's what concerns me. And I just want to know how these new plans got to the builder. He most likely hasn't made any mistake at all, but they assume that, you know, that was the correct plan when in actual fact it was never the approved plan. That's what, you know, we've seen it before. They just do what they like, and you know, who cares? And I just feel very sorry.
Can we go to his answer, Neil? Give Sam a chance to answer the question, if we can, please. Sam,
yeah, in terms of kind of what we've got at the moment in terms of what's been built, obviously that's there, but I guess we have to make an assessment as in on plan form rather than what's there and kind of make that concession that, you know, it's already been built, therefore it's acceptable. I don't think we've done that. We've tried to look at the plans, you know, in plan format in terms of, you know, what the differences are in terms of our planning assessment, and we've done that assessment. So yeah, I think we've done it accordingly. It's kind of what we should be doing.
Fine. Okay, you happy with that, Neil? We'll move on. Vice Chair, I've got 4 here, but I see we've got 5. I've got Councillor Mould, Councillor Buscombe, Eddie, Jordan, and Craker. Who might I be missing, please?
I think that's the 5, Chair.
5.
Councillor Craker, Councillor.
And I will come to Councillor Flashman at the end of that for a question, should you have any. So we go to Councillor Mould, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can I just ask, building control, when it was raised that the actual building was not being built to the original plan, and please correct me if I got this wrong, they were made aware that this wasn't built to the original plan. Should they then have been given instruction to stop building and to stop work until this issue had been sorted, please? And if it wasn't, why wasn't it?
Yeah. Jump in here. Yes, it's Gavin Smith, Group Leader. Could I just answer this one, Chairman?
Yeah, certainly, Gavin.
Thank you, and thanks for raising the question, Councillor Mould. I think the important thing here is that we're looking at what's in front of us today. So something hasn't been built in accordance with the approved plans. The applicant's trying to regulate that by putting in a planning application. In terms of us making the decision today, what we need to focus on is the difference between what was approved and what's actually been built. I know there's a lot of emotion and annoyance when this happens, when things don't get built to plans, but that's how it is, and that's what's happened in this case. So in terms of today, just focus, if I could ask you, on the difference between what's been approved and what actually has been built. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carol. Next one is Richard. Richard Buscombe, please. Councillor Buscombe.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, just following up on Gavin's comments, I still think there's merit in the committee understanding the way in which these applications were administratively processed within Cornwall Council, because I'm still of the opinion that the problems there led to difficulties on the site. Would you say I'm wrong in suggesting that, Gavin?
Yeah, look, the application's been approved subject to drawings in the normal way. That was the 2018 application, and they have built it slightly different to that, and that's what we're looking at today. In terms of how we got there, Councillor Buscombe, you're probably right. There's something we could look at, but that's not what we're here to do today. The important thing to focus on today is the planning application itself.
Okay, okay. I'll leave it there for the moment. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Councillor Eddie, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I wonder if Sam could tell me where this hedge is. So that I see in the conditions that there are going to be conditions attached to a hedge. Is the hedge the one that's indicated at the front of the property?
Yes, it is. Yeah, so it'll be to the south. It'll kind of bound round the south of the garage and then round to the front. I think that should emulate what's going to be done along the lane there. So we saw that as a benefit.
My subsequent question, if I may, Chairman, is then, sorry about the phone, is that if that's allowed to grow up, that might cause more loss of light for number 29 as well. So I'd like to see that kept at a reasonable height. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Eddy. Councillor Jordan.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm looking at slides 7 and 8 on my iPad here. Does the officer think that the loss of light is insignificant? Because looking at these pictures, the loss of light on 7 is bad because it looks like it's a sunny day, but on 8, it just shadows the whole house. Now, you've got a right to light, but this proves that the light is being cut out. Now, at the original plan, just looking at taking the 2 meters off there, it would have given them a lot more light. And I think that they're being approval for this should not be given, because it does really make the next door house, well, it's in shadow all the time, and it's wrong.
Have we got a question there, Barry?
Yeah, I said, does he think it's right that should approve this plan?
Could I just come back on that one, Chairman, again? It's Gavin Smith.
Yeah, certainly.
I think it's important when you look at the difference between what's been approved and what's being built. So just to have a look at what the actual exact differences are. So it's 1.8 metres further into the plot, the new building, but it's also 0.65 metres lower the ridge height. So that is slightly countering it. When we're looking at those pictures that you're rightly doing on the presentation, there'd be a high element of overshadowing in the extent permission as well. The thing to focus in is the actual differences between what's been approved and what's been built. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Jordan, okay with that?
Not really, but I suppose we have to accept it.
Fine, thank you. Councillor Craker.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm looking at page 27 of the report, paragraph 6 on the proposed elevations. Looking at the east elevation on that diagram there, it's sort of on the bottom right. There's a sort of lean-to structure on the side, and I just wonder if we can clarify what that structure is. Is it a balcony or is it sort of undercover?
Is that the flat roof or the slightly pitched?
It's a flat roof on the east elevation on the right-hand side of that diagram.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that's just some sort of timber frame, really. It's not proposed to be a balcony. If we want to condition that, I'm sure we probably can. If you kind of want to remove any doubt that that is a balcony, but I think it's proposed to be one. No.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Flashman, I'll come to you if you've got any question at the moment. Do you have any chance?
Well, I had an observation that's probably maybe to do with the planning officer's decision.
So it's an observation or a question, will it be?
Well, I can turn it into a question.
Fine, okay.
When the planning officer, when you made your decision, the metre and a half that the property's been moved back, that would have probably given it more sunlight. Everyone knows the sun rises in the southeast and it sets in the northwest. So did that make your decision stronger? Thank you.
Thank you. Sam?
Yeah, so we kind of have looked at the way the sun moves throughout the day. So morning sun should be fine. It is that kind of very late evening, I guess in the winter and the late evening in the summer as well, where there might be some greater overshadowing by that 1.8 meters, shifted to the rear. I mean, again, we didn't see that to be, of significant harm, and obviously that just because of the extant permission there, so that does hold a lot of weight in our assessment. Yeah, I mean, it strictly is kind of in the evening where the harm will be, and I guess late afternoon in the summer as well.
And on the a subsequent question as well, Chairman.
Yes.
On the divisional boundary between the two properties, is the hedge height to be kept as it is or allowed to extend slightly higher? Bearing in mind that the ridge height has been reduced, will this make any significant difference in how much light that this hedge will remove? Thank you.
Is that the hedge to the south or the west? So there's an existing stone south side. Yeah, so that one to the south shouldn't be of any kind of significant height. It seems to just bound around the garage and to the front of the proposal site. I don't think that's of any great height, and the planting above it shouldn't be any great height either to kind of overshadow kind of any dwelling really, not to material effect anyway.
And would that then was restrict visual from the windows that are intended to be built? Will that restrict vision out of the new build?
As into the south elevation, I guess. If it's
on the south elevation.
No, I mean, I believe it should be, it's suitably located kind of just to the south of the plot, and the garage obviously will have a blank elevation on that south elevation, and there's no harm there. It's just kind of a nice wall to put to the front of the proposal site really. It's there kind of there as a biodiversity and a landscape gain really. It shouldn't have any harm in terms of amenity.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. Before I got Councillor Mould. I've got Councillor Mould next to speak, but before I go to you, Carol, Vice Chair, is there anyone else? Because I'm showing plus one other.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Mould and Councillor Burden's hands have been raised since they asked their first initial question, so I'm not sure if they have a follow-up question or not. If you give them chance, then I could just do with asking a question myself, please.
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Carol?
No, thank you.
No, thank you. Neil, are you?
No, they've been asked.
Thank you. If you can put your hand down, Neil, it's still showing. Come across to you, Councillor Parsons.
Thank you, Chair. Sam, just to clarify, I'm assuming when the extant permission was granted, where this plot is, was that land part of the property number 29 at the time? I'm assuming they were the applicants and subsequently have split the plot. Would that be the case?
I believe that to be correct, yeah.
Thank you.
Fine. Are there any other questions for clarification, please, at this point? None are showing, so in that case, we now move into open debate. So it's, if you'd like to put your hands up if you wish to open and run in the open debate, please.
Currently, Chair, I have none showing.
No,
Councillor Mould.
Councillor Mould. And then Councillor May and Councillor Long.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm happy to wait to see what other members have to say, but I have real concerns about this. I mean, this original permission, this lady bought the house in the full knowledge that she was going to have a house built next to her in a certain position. She's clearly looked into it before buying this property. She's now bought it and moved in. And something not hugely different, but in her opinion, significantly imposes the light on her house and is not what she was expecting. Now, you know, I have real concerns about that, and I would like to, and I'm very keen to hear what other members may think about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor May. Good morning to you, Mary.
Morning, Chris. Yeah, I too would like to hear what other people are going to say. However, I'm a little worried because I think the residents spoke really well. I wouldn't like to be in her position, and I am worried about the overlooking that is going to happen in her bedroom, as she was saying. But the thing is, we all know, and I don't like saying it, but enforcement is weak, and I can't see them making the applicant take anything away when they start building. So with that in mind, you know, if you go back to a couple of the paragraphs, you know, the planning officer is saying, sorry, Chairman, just trying to find it, on page 25, the proposal will lead to greater overshadowing and overbearing impacts to occupiers on the neighbours' amenity area. But he doesn't say it's significant. So I think it's because that significant is not there. If it goes to appeal, I don't think we're going to stand a chance. So at this time, I'll wait and see what other people are going to say.
Fine. Thank you, Mary. Councillor Long, Andrew, over to you.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman. Mary just took the words right out of my mouth, really. I think I'm not looking at the original application now. I'm just looking at this new one, and I was looking into myself as whether there was any opportunity, whether there was anything that could stand out as a reasonable ground for refusal of planning permission, and I can't see anything. I can see it's not. I don't believe it's been handled in the best possible way. I think it's really unfortunate for the new owners of the other property, number 29. But if the original application hadn't been there and this new application had come in, could we turn that down on a verified, solid planning grounds? And I think that's what the officers looked at. I think the fact that the officer hasn't said that it's a real solid negative, that I just don't think we've got grounds to sustain a refusal. So I'm going to recommend approval of the application along the officer's recommendations, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. The next speaker is Councillor Holly.
Can anybody hear me or no?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Holly.
Yeah, can you hear me?
So, can you pause a second there? Jim, was that you coming in there?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll add you in a moment, all right?
Yes, thank you very much.
No, okay, back to you, Councillor Holly.
Yeah, it's fairly simple, this. I've looked at the previous application, 2018-12050, and I've compared it with this one. And I'd actually disagree with what the planning officer says on page 33, which is he says it's considered the proposal, while exacerbating harm to an extent, does not incur any significant harm. My concern is not the windows, it's not the overlooking into bedrooms. My concern is quite simply the overbearing aspects of this. And I think it had to been a ½ metre different. I think I could live with that. But I think 1.8 metres, nearly 2 metres, I think is too significant an increase in overbearing for the occupants, whoever they may be, of the plot number 29. And I just think that it's just too far. And I've got a strong suspicion that an inspector would also back that up because of partly because of the closeness of the building to the boundary, and because of the 1.8 metres. I don't think the reduction in roof height of 2 feet really makes any difference. I think it's the fact that the tall building is 2 metres back into the garden is what's really important to me. In other words, it's policy 12B, I think it is, only going on memory there, policy 12B, which deals with overbearing, and I think it's just too much. And I would propose refusal on those grounds, Mr. Chairman.
Right, so proposal for refusal, fine. Just check with Vice Chair, I've got yourself, Councillor Flashman and Councillor Pugh. I'm not missing anyone, am I?
No, that's the hands I have raised in front of me, Chair.
Fine. But wait, I've got Councillor Burden now, Ali. That's okay. But where you go, Councillor Parsons?
Thank you, Chair. I think having seen the pictures, I don't think this application sits very comfortably with any of us, having listened to the other speakers. There's no question there is an enormous overbearing impact and loss of light, but for me the question is how big a difference the extra 1.8 metres has actually made. For sure it has made a small amount of difference. Where I kind of disagree with Councillor Long, if I took him correctly, is that if this was a new application, I'm not sure that it would be passed as it is due to the overbearing nature and the loss of light. But the fact that the extant permission went in when what I can only assume the property at number 29 was then owned by the applicant, it puts us in a tricky situation, because obviously the extant permission is currently there. So reluctantly, I don't really feel we have too far to go with this one. So I would, well, not happily, but I would second Councillor Long's recommendation for approval. Can I also add, Chair, we have Councillor Mould who's come in who would like to speak as well.
I've got Councillor Flashman, Pugh, burden and mould in line. So if we go across to Councillor Flashman.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I would also like to support this application, and mainly because the objector was in favour of the original building line, which is in dark black, and that is still against the boundary, and it had another 2 feet on top of the ridge line. Now, I think she could be the gainer here because our front garden will have lots of light. The back garden, even at the 2 metre distance moving the property back, isn't going to lose that much extra overshadowing, and it will be late afternoon before that shadowing happens in the summer. In winter time, it won't make much difference to the actual overbearing. She was quite happy with the original plan, and I don't see a big problem with it. I think it would be a really tough case to fight in an appeal, and I don't think that we should be supporting things that can't be put to test. But I think she's already admitted that that original site she was happy with. And I think with 2 feet lower on and a metre, 1.8 metres back from the frontage, we'll give her a lot more light in the front. And could we possibly have opaque windows from the bathroom and any other light or window that's overlooking her side of the property? Because I think overlooking has some merit. Could you ask the planning officer if this is possible to put a condition on the plans? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Flashman. Councillor Pugh, Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have enormous sympathy for our lady speaker on this one, because when I saw the pictures on this, actually, I couldn't believe how overbearing and this new house is. I'm afraid I can't support this on this particular occasion, because I think the developer has made a huge mistake, and I think it should actually be rectified. It's going to be expensive, it should be rectified, but that's not what was in the original plans. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Burton.
Can I support Councillor Holly's proposal for refusal? And Councillor Pugh's comments were exactly what I would say. The only thing is, what I'm also concerned about is the process. You know, and I would hope that our planners now make sure that every plan that is amended is then approved and stamped officially, because unless we get there, we'll be doing this every time. And I just think it is overbearing. That's what I can't get over. And I didn't like the design in the beginning. But and what I think is sad, really, we got into a strange environmental stage. Oh, you know, the planning officer thinks it's a huge advantage because it's going to incorporate a Cornish hedge. Well, millions of Cornish hedges have been taken down, and it takes a very long time for a Cornish hedgerow to re-establish. So I shouldn't think any weight should be put on that at all. And I just feel that I think the next door neighbour put her case extremely well, and congratulate her on that. And where it goes from here, I don't know, but I should be voting against. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Neil. Councillor Mould, Carol.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will also support Councillor Holly with this, because I really don't think as a committee we should be saying, oh, unfortunately our enforcement is weak and our appeal, we don't want this to go to appeal, we think it will fail. This lady has done her homework. She bought a house in the knowledge that a house was going to be built next door. If this was what was bought before us, I remember discussing it, I wouldn't have voted for this. I think her photos are very telling about what will happen here, and the overbearing and the loss of light. I think there's a very strong case, and I agree with Councillor Holly. I'm not sure an appeal inspector would say it's all right, so I shall be voting against. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Eddy.
Thank you, Chairman. I've listened to the debate very carefully, and I'm not in favour of this application. I think the loss of light from moving this development down the garden will be greater than the gain from dropping the ridge height. However, if we don't win the day, then I would like an extra condition put on that southern hedge so that it's not allowed to grow up because it could remove evening light from number 29 from the southern side, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you drop your hands?
Sorry, it's Vanessa Ormerod from Legal Services here. I wondered if I may come in just to make give a bit of advice, please, Chair.
Yes, certainly, Vanessa. Can I ask Carol? Can you drop your hand there, please, will you? Just so I got a clear screen, just to make sure what's on. And Neil as well. Richard, are you back in with another question, or Richard Pugh? Councillor Pugh, can you drop your hand if not, please?
I beg your pardon. Thank you.
Sir, thank you. Vanessa, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. I just thought that I should just clarify, because there's been a lot of talk about the you know, what's in situ and this being a retrospective application. It is unfortunate, but obviously the planning does allow that retrospective applications can be submitted, and what we need to be careful of is we're not seeking to penalise the applicant for doing so. Also, I understand fully members' concerns about enforcement, but we need to be careful not to stray into that separate process. That is a separate process which would need to be tested for expediency. So, a planning breach in itself isn't illegal. The council do often permit retrospective applications where planning permission has not been sought, but so members should be looking at the application as in front of them rather than considering that that actually it's on site already.
Thank you very much, Vanessa. We've come to the end of the questions by the looks of it. No other hands showing. We have I'll go back to Rowena now. We have a recommendation from Councillor Long. It came in first, seconded by Councillor Parsons for approval, and a recommendation for refusal from Councillor Hawley, seconded by Councillor Burden. I take it we take the approval one first?
That's correct, Chairman.
Yes.
We take the first proposal of approval. The second one was a notice of second motion, so we take the vote on approval first and see what happens there.
Thank you very much. In that case, I will now cross over to you because of the roll call system now. Okay, so across to you, Rowena.
Okay, I will call your name and please state clearly whether you are for, against or abstaining from the proposal of approval. Councillor Burden?
Against approval.
Councillor Craker?
For.
Councillor Eddy?
Against.
Councillor Flashman?
For.
Councillor Greenslade?
For.
Councillor Holly?
Against.
Councillor Jordan? Councillor Jordan?
Sorry, I was muted. Against.
Councillor Long?
For.
Councillor May?
Against.
Councillor Mould?
Against.
Councillor Pascoe?
Against.
Councillor Pugh?
Against.
Councillor Tamlin?
Against.
Councillor Parsons?
For.
And Councillor Batters?
For.
Thank you.
And you got Councillor Flashman, didn't you? You had.
Oh no, yeah, I got Councillor Flashman.
No,
Yes.
fine. Thank you. Over to you then, Rowena.
Okay, that motion has been lost by 6 votes to 9, Chairman. So we go for the vote of approval proposed by Councillor Holly and seconded by Councillor Burden. Can we just confirm the reasons for that, please?
Yes. Would you like to give your reasons, Derek, please?
Yes, first of all, can I just say that I'm not concerned about the process or about the enforcement, as some are. My only concern is about the overbearing aspects of the additional 1.8 metres, which I think is policy 12B, but perhaps the planning officer could confirm that.
Sam or Gavin, would you like to come in, please? Thank
you, Chairman. That's correct. It is policy 12. If your concerns is overbearing, Councillor, would you like me to read you a draft reason for refusal?
Thank you.
The proposed new dwelling, by reasons of its siting and massing, would result in adverse overbearing impacts to the occupiers of the neighbouring dwelling at 29 Granville Road. The application is therefore not sustainable development and is contrary to policy 12 of our Cornwall local plan.
Thank you, that's fine, Gavin.
Fine. Okay, so in that case, we now go to the vote again with a roll call from Rowena. For those who are voting for refusal of this application. So across to you, Rowena.
Thank you. Councillor Burden?
For refusal.
Councillor Craker.
Against.
Councillor Eddy.
For refusal.
Councillor Flashman.
Against.
Councillor Greenslade. Councillor Greenslade.
Yeah. Against.
Councillor Holly.
For refusal.
Councillor Jordan.
For refusal.
Councillor Long.
Against.
Councillor May.
For refusal.
Councillor Mould.
For refusal.
Councillor Pascoe.
For refusal.
Councillor Pugh.
For refusal.
Councillor Tamlin.
For.
Councillor Parsons.
Against.
And Councillor Batters.
Yes, against.
Thank you. So the motion for refusal has been carried by 9 votes to 6, Chairman.
Thank you very much. We now move on then to our second application, unless anyone specifically wants a 5-minute break.
Chairman, just to say, could I have my name recorded as voting against?
That's Andrew, is it? Yes.
Against refusal, please. Thank you.
Councillor Batters, I'm now leaving the meeting. Thank you.
Sorry, who was that? That was
Stephen.
Oh, right. Okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else wish to have it recorded?
Yes,
No?
please, Chairman. Greenslade.
You could mine as well if you wish, please, Rowena.
Okay, thank you.
And you could mine as well, Rowena, please.
And I believe Jim Flashman came in as well, asking.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Can you all make sure your hands are down, please? Andrew's is up unless you got the point, Andrew. Thank you. Right. We now move on to application. Does anyone want a 5-minute break? No 5-minute break? Fine. Okay. In that case, we go straight on to our second application, which is, where's it gone here? Just looking at application PA20-00014, down south of Great Bedive Farm, Bedive, Weybridge. And it's being presented by Amy Williams. Across to you, Amy. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Councillor Batters. Thank you. I will just share my screen. Can everybody see that okay?
Yes. Also, yeah.
Okay. So agenda item 4.2 is land south of Great Bedive Farm. It's for the conversion of a barn with extensions to the rear and side to create a 3-bedroom dwelling. The key issues with this application is whether or not this is a suitable location for new housing, together with the impact of the development on the landscape. This first screen just shows you the location of the proposal in connection with the settlement of Bedive. And this one just in a slightly greater detail. And then just the aerial plan that shows the surrounding agricultural land uses, and then the settlement of Bedive to the north of the access road. The existing plan of the barn that's currently there. And this also then shows an outbuilding that forms part of. So this is the barn itself, and this is then an outbuilding. And these are the proposed plans which show how the barn is to be converted into the 3-bedroom dwelling, together with the extensions proposed. So this is the barn itself, and just another view of it. This is the outbuilding that I showed you as part of the plot. These two pictures show the neighbouring land uses, which are both agricultural use at present. And then this is the barn just looking at from the north towards it, so from kind of the settlement of Bedive down towards the barn. So in balance, the considerations are that the proposed development is not considered to constitute infill or rounding off in accordance with policy 3. It is therefore considered to be in the open countryside, and there are no specific circumstances to meet policy 7 for the conversion of rural buildings, given the scale of the extensions that are required to create a new dwelling, and therefore it is considered that it is tantamount to a creation of a new dwelling. It is therefore considered that the development would represent unjustified housing within the countryside, which would be harmful to the character of the landscape. The recommendation is therefore for refusal. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Our first speaker is Ian Welsh. Are you there, please, Ian?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Thank you for attending the meeting today. We will give you 3 minutes to sound your objections, and we'll give you a 30-second warning before the end. What I would ask is, at the end of your presentation, could you stay on the line in case there are any questions or clarification for you, please?
I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. When you're ready, away you go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you ever so much, everybody. Just as I said in the introduction, my name's Ian Welsh. I'm actually a Weybridge Town Councillor, and I'm the chairperson of the Bedive Community Group. But just for clarity, I'm actually speaking this morning as a private individual. So firstly, I'd like to thank the planning officer for her fair and balanced report. I don't know if you've had a chance to have that presented yet, but I just wanted to reiterate some of the planning reasons for rejection of this application. Firstly, the barn, which is actually a centrepiece in Bedive, has been in use as a carpenter store until recently, and when the user was asked to vacate by the landowner. So it's not derelict and could be reused. There's no evidence it was a previous dwelling, and indeed the building is surrounded on 3 sides by prime farmland and paddocks, and on the 4th side by a road. So it would be building in countryside. It's not infill. The revised design and access statement challenges the distances, but I actually checked myself last night and confirmed that the planning officer's assessments and measurements are exactly what I measured as well. This is not a conversion. The barn would require total demolition, I believe, to build the new property. It's not small either. So again, by calculation, it's about 5 times the floor area. In fact, the planning officer, I believe, calculated it 2.5 times, but it's still very, very, very large. In fact, it's huge. And the wall onto the road would actually be a featureless blank flank wall with I think a small window in it. And many of the residents have described it as it would be like a prison. The mass basically is insensitive to the surroundings. Contrary to the environmental report, owls feature at night, and there's photographic evidence of it even just a couple of days ago from a renowned local naturalist showing nesting owls in the vicinity, and they use this area quite a lot. The planning officer points out this application is counter to 7 policies of Cornwall Local Plan and 5 powers of the National Planning Committee framework. It's outside the built-up area boundary in the emerging neighbourhood plan, which is due out immediately. Weybridge Town Council didn't support this and asked the committee to note the wider views expressed across Weybridge and in the community to reject it. But finally, just to end, this is not a personal criticism of Mrs. Phillips or Councillor.
Yeah, I'm afraid that's your 3 minutes, Mr. Welsh.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for letting me make
hold
that
the line a
contribution.
moment, please.
Yeah.
If you can stay on the line, should there be any questions for clarification? Do we have any questions for clarification, please? I've got nothing shown here at the moment.
Currently, I have none, Chair.
No. In that case, Mr. Welsh, thank you very much for your attendance, and you can watch us on live stream if you wish to follow it through. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your attendance. Okay, we come now to our next speaker is Max Knightley. Are you there, please, Max?
Yeah. Hello, Mr. Chair.
Hi. Good morning to you. Welcome to the meeting. You will have 3 minutes to state your case. The 30 seconds before the end will give you a warning that the end is coming towards you. At the end of your presentation, can you remain on the line, please, for any questions that might be coming back? All right. Thank you. Where you go.
No problem. Good morning, Chair, members of the Planning Committee. Thank you for allowing me to speak at your meeting. I would like to address concerning the following application, PA 20-00014, which is for the conversion of an existing former agricultural building presently being used by the owner of the adjoining dwelling, who was a retired builder and formerly used this building for storing building materials. Originally, this building had a 2-storey worksman's cottage attached to it. Photographs of this cottage can be seen in the design and access statement, not what is currently there now. The design follows the footprint of this former building, and it should be noted that the foundations and the stone from the former walls are still there. The stone will indeed be reused in the proposed building works. The site is 17 metres from the adjoining cottage, and this cottage is one of 4 other existing dwellings on this side of the road, running through the centre of Bedive. Indeed, all of these dwellings have been in the same former field as the application is now. Furthermore, the Weybridge bypass has dissected this field, virtually cutting it in half. We consider a former field with 4 existing dwellings, a barn with a former cottage attached and a bypass running through it is a long way from open countryside. If you are able to see the location plan, which shows the whole of Bedive, we have coloured in the dwellings built since 1978. It is 31, more than doubling the number of dwellings. Planning consent has been approved for a further 4 dwellings within the last 12 months. To sum up, we consider this application to be the conversion of an existing barn with minor additions. The main extensions are to the rear of the building, which are not on view from the public road. The proposals are for a modest dwelling, and great care has been taken to provide a design which employs vernacular detail and indigenous materials to provide a sustainable design and that sits well within the context of Great Bedive Farm. We'll be employing a high level of renewable energy, also including a grey water system. We stress that this proposal sits in an existing one of 4 other properties close to the centre of Bedive, and we do not consider this application for a dwelling in open countryside. Indeed, the location plan shows this is correct. Thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, I will endeavour to answer them all.
Thank you, fine. If you can hold in that case, please. Are there any questions of the speaker for clarification purposes, please?
Yes, I'd like to ask a question.
Is that Jim, is it?
Yeah.
Councillor Flashman, yes.
The objector that came onto the seat just recently mentioned that the building would be 2.5 tons bigger than what's already there. Is this fact or not? Thank you.
The building will be, I'm not sure on exact square meterage, but the building that we proposed is going off the original building footprint, which would not make it 2.5 times bigger. If you're going on the footprint of the existing single-storey barn that is there now, it is roughly about that. But we're going off the floor area of the existing double-height building that used to be there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very welcome.
Are there any other questions for clarification, please? If you could put your hand up if there is. Councillor Burden.
Yeah. The old linny that we saw with the granite posts, that is going to be incorporated as the garage, etc.
No, that is actually going to be kept separate, Councillor. There is actually off-street parking round to the back of the building with turning area off-street as well.
Yeah, now I'm a bit confused then, because on our plan it shows cars parked in this linny.
I don't think I've ever drawn anything that shows cars parked into a linny. Sorry.
On top of page 40.
I don't have that in front of me to be able to see, sorry.
Anyway, I'll ask the planning officer when we get to him.
Fine, thank you. Okay, are there any other questions of the speaker for clarification purposes, please? No?
Appears to be
fine. Mr. Knightley, thank you very much for coming along, and you're welcome to watch it, obviously, on the live streaming. Okay, thank you very much.
I'm already on there. Yeah, thank you.
Lovely, thank you. In that case, now we come to the local member, but I don't think there's anyone to speak, Rowena, is that right?
That's correct, Chairman, no.
Thank you. And I would point out that this was brought by the adjoining member. Okay, somebody spoke then? Sorry, who was that?
That was me, Gavin Smith. Sorry, Chairman.
Yeah. Okay. So we now move to questions for clarification of the planning officer. Anyone wish to start off, please? First one I've got is Councillor Moe, Councillor Tamlin, following.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can I just make it clear that it wasn't, I'm not the adjoining member that brought this to committee. Could you please state who it was? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tamlin.
Thank you, Chair. I've just got a quick question for the officer. The applicant keeps talking about the previous building that was there. I just want to confirm that we're considering what is there now rather than, you know, what had been there in the 60s. And can we just confirm that we can't even use that?
Yes, that's correct. We're looking at the building that is there at present, which, as you can see, is that single-storey barn. I will add in, it was my incorrect in the presentation to say that that linhay was being used. It isn't actually part of the application site, so it is just that small single-storey barn that is part of the application site. But that is all we can consider. That is what's there at present. That is the building that is there, and that's what we have to look at. That's the barn to be converted.
Thank you. Councillor, sorry, that was Councillor Tamlin, wasn't it then?
That was Councillor Tamlin, yes.
Yes.
So we get Councillor Burden and Councillor Greenslade.
Yes, Chris. Top of page 40, perhaps the planning officer can explain what the two little cars are parked there for then.
Sorry, just having a look at it. Just 2 seconds.
Or perhaps it's Lego.
Well, they're parked within the agricultural field.
Oh, I see. Yes, no, you're right. Yeah, so it's not the linear at all.
No, they're just basically
I read it. Field. Yeah. We'd love a video of these places. Thanks.
Okay.
I have Councillor Hawley followed by Councillor Greenslade.
Mr. Chairman, my question was asked by Councillor Tamlin. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Greenslade.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. This parcel of land that we're considering, there are one or two additions around the property, like the bypass, for instance. But do we consider the plot to be previously developed land? Is it agricultural, or what is the designation as it stands, please?
From following my site visit, I would say that the land is still currently used as agricultural land. You could see from the photographs in my presentation, it was clearly still being used as that, and therefore it wouldn't be classed as previously developed land.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mould, your hand is still up. Did you wish to ask, or?
I'm very sorry.
Okay, no problems. Councillor Flashman, do you have any questions you might wish to ask?
Yeah, if the application hadn't been put in with twice as much new build, would the officer may have had a different aspect on the application?
Well, obviously we have to look at every application on its own merits. There is clearly policy 7 which supports barn conversions, but it does say that that barn should be suitable to be converted without the necessity for considerable amount of rebuild. Now, we all know that a lot of barn conversions that we see in front of us do have some form of extension to enable current habitable kind of living accommodation. However, in this aspect, what we're looking at is a very simple single-storey barn, which relies rather heavily on the extensions to create that habitable dwelling. So it's very difficult for me to answer how another application would be looked at. Oh, but there is clearly the policy there that does support the conversion of barns. But it's just in this respect, it's not considered to hit that due to the amount of extensions required.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm not showing any further questions. Yourself, can you confirm that, Vice Chair?
I think that's your lot, Chairman.
Thank you very much. In that case, we now move into open debate. So who would like to start the open debate, please? I've got Councillor May.
Thank you, Chairman. Propose as set out.
Thank you. Councillor Greenslade, you're on the next one.
Given the sort of conditions we're facing, Chairman, I would like to second Councillor May's proposal for approval.
Fine. We've got a couple of other names.
Councillor Craker.
Councillor Craker and Eddie, was it?
Chairman, can I just confirm? I understand that Councillor May just proposed refusal. Councillor Greenslade said he seconded approval. Can he confirm whether he actually meant to move approval or did he want to second refusal?
Sorry, Chairman. I misunderstood Councillor May, did I?
Councillor May proposed
refusal, Fred.
Yeah.
I would propose approval, Chairman. Sorry
right,
for the
fine.
confusion.
Well done,
I do
Rowena.
apologise.
That's okay. Sorry, who was the next in line actually there, Vice Chair?
So we have now Councillor Craker who wishes to come in, followed by Councillor Eddy who's back again. But
right, so
I think Councillor Eddy is there, but he keeps changing his mind.
Right,
Just
that's
check.
okay. It happens.
I'll step in as well.
Yes. Right, so we'll come to Councillor Craker, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I think there's actually quite a great deal of merit on building on this plot and converting the barn. I personally think it is in the settlement and worthy of conversion, but the issue that I've got with this is the scale. I think it was 264% of the floor space, and I think that's too much. So whilst I would support an application here, I think this particular application is too large. So I'm going to second refusal.
Fine. Councillor Eddy.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't consider this application to be either infill or rounding off. I am concerned about the 264% increase in the size of the conversion. It's a very neat little barn. I'd like to see the other barn brought into the application and the two work together. But as it stands, I shall be supporting the recommendation for refusal, Chairman.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Long and Flashman. Anyone else at this moment, Vice Chair?
No, that's
Right.
the two on the list, Chair.
Thank you. Cross to you, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairman. I think just been echoed by the last two speakers. It's the size of increase that is concerning me. So therefore, the application that's put before us, I don't believe I can support. So I'm going to go with the recommendation for refusal.
Thank you, Councillor Flashman.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I do remember on a Carradon meeting a few years ago at St Germans, they gave 179% increase on a design, which was successfully built and now matches in well with the St Germans vernacular. My assumptions would be if the applicant put in a new application, I think it would be considered with a lot less. Probably a 1 or 2 bedroom would be far superior to this application. So I can't support it either, unfortunately. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fred. I'm sorry, Jim. Cross to Councillor Greenslade. I see your hands up again.
Yes, in view of the committee, the way the committee is going, Chairman, I'll withdraw my consideration. Thank you.
Fine, thank you very much. Are there any others wishing to speak? No hands yet in front of me.
Currently, Chair, I think that's everybody who wants to speak spoken.
Fine. So coming back to Mary, just briefly, it was your proposal, Mary, to go in line with refusal, seconded by Councillor Craker. You're happy with the conditions and you're going forward. That's it. Simple as that, isn't it?
Mr. Chairman.
Lovely. So I'll pass it across to you now, Rowena, for the roll call.
Thank you, Chairman. I will go to each person in turn for the motion of refusal. Councillor Burden.
Support the recommendation.
Councillor Craker.
For.
Councillor Eddy.
For refusal.
Councillor Flashman.
For refusal.
Councillor Greenslade.
Refusal.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
For refusal.
For refusal, thank you. Councillor Holly.
For refusal.
Councillor Jordan. Councillor Jordan.
Sorry, for refusal.
Councillor Long.
For refusal.
Councillor May.
For refusal.
Councillor Mould.
For refusal.
Councillor Pascoe.
For refusal.
Councillor Pugh. Councillor Pugh.
For refusal.
Thank you. Councillor Tamlin.
For.
Councillor Parsons.
For.
And Councillor Batters.
For refusal.
Thank you, Chairman. That was a unanimous vote for refusal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that brings us to the end of today's agenda, members. So I'll pass it across to you, Sarah, to let us know when the live stream.
I'll ask the live stream to be switched off and I'll let you know when the meeting's finished.
Thank you very much. If members could just hold for the moment, please.